Welcome back everybody. So in today's video, I'll be going through the best wildcard team in my opinion for game week 4. Now the good thing is that the transfer window has closed and we kind of know where players are and which teams they play for. But we still have the international break to go, so a lot of players will be playing for their countries and they might be at risk of getting injured. Now bear in mind, I'm filming this on the 2nd of September and the deadline is I think on the 13th or 14th. So there's still a lot of days to go, and yeah, you have to bear that in mind when you look at this draft because some players might get injured until then. So guys, before I get to the players, I've specifically designed this section or split it into 3 categories, which are top defenders, top midfielders, and top forwards, to kind of show you which players will be like the core players for our wildcard. Because remember, we have to be looking at the long term because it's such an early commitment that you're making using this wildcard, in my opinion. But yeah, to get to the players, so I've mainly focused on these 3 teams, which are Chelsea, Crystal Palace, and Bournemouth. Now you can see here I've chosen 2 players from Chelsea and 2 players from Crystal Palace. I think one of these or one of each should be enough, and the main difference between those 2 is mainly the price. So if we look at here, Tosin and Chalobah, Tosin is 0.6 cheaper. Now, as you guys know, at this stage, every 0.1 million matters, especially with all these, you know, the frequent price hikes and price falls. But yeah, let's just start comparing the players. So Chelsea have good fixtures, reasonable. Yes, they have United away, which I've put in red because if you guys have been following the team's XG, as bad as United might seem, they do have the highest XG out of all the teams. They're number 1 for expected goals. So trust me, they're not an easy team to play against, especially at Old Trafford. And of course, Liverpool will be in red. The other teams, I think Chelsea have a good chance of getting a clean sheet against. Now we also have to focus on goal threat and defensive contributions. And that's where Chalobah excels. So yeah, he actually got a goal already in game week 2 against West Ham. But West Ham were super poor. But that doesn't matter because Chalobah is, you know, a very, very good threat in corners, and Chelsea are getting a lot of corner kicks and like set pieces. And he has a 0.19 expected goals per 90 and also an interesting 0.09, which is quite high, expected assists per 90. But I guess the most important stat is the defensive contributions this year, and he has 9, which is very, very good. I think he's hit that 10 defensive contribution mark once so far. I actually have his stats right here. Yes, he's hit it once, and he was 1 short against Crystal Palace. He got 9 defensive contributions that game. He didn't get it against West Ham because they were the dominant force, and as we've seen, the teams that keep possession tend to not get that many defensive contributions, except Van Dijk for a reason. He's an exception. But yeah, Tosin is just cheaper. He almost has no threat. By the way, he's played 1 game less. He didn't play the first game week, but he should be nailed on. And yeah, but he's getting those defensive contributions steadily. Again, if you want to pick Tosin, you're picking him because he's the cheaper player. Moving on to Crystal Palace, you got Richards and Lacroix. Both are technically so far non-existent when it comes to goal threat, but Lacroix is literally destroying that defensive contribution threshold. So is Richards. I think he just had 1 poor game, but I think game week 3 he did get those defensive contributions. He might have gotten the most, but it doesn't matter. Once you break that 10, you get those the 2 points, and that's all that matters. In terms of fixtures, they have lovely fixtures: Sunderland at home, West Ham away, and Everton away. But in between, they have Liverpool at home, which they played very well against in the Community Shield, and they're proving to be a very, very, you know, solid defense. So I'm really loving Crystal Palace. If I had like a spare transfer, I wouldn't mind doubling on them. But on a wild card, you really have to plan for the future, so you can't be making or choosing a lot of players from the same team, in my opinion, or you have to try your hardest not to, I guess. And yeah, they also have Bournemouth at home. Bournemouth are really good at attacking, but again, at home, Selhurst Park, I think Crystal Palace are good. Finally, we have Senesi. Senesi's impressed quite a lot, especially with his monstrous defensive contributions per 90. I think he's hit the mark every single game. And surprisingly, even with Zabarni and Huijsen leaving, they're proving to be a decent defense. You know, they held their lines against Spurs. So that's actually quite inspiring, I would say. And in the past, I think not last season, but the one before, he did score like 5 goals and 4 assists. So if given the chance, I think Senesi's good for like as an aerial threat. But yeah, he plays 90 minutes. He has excellent fixtures. He's getting a million defensive contributions per 90. So he's almost always going to cross that 10 mark. Not always, of course, but like he's looking like he has it in him almost every single game so far, at least. The goal threat hasn't been there, but I think they're just getting up to speed. So yeah, these are my choices for defense. Now let's move on to the midfield. So in terms of midfielders, I think you'll immediately see there are a few question marks, especially when it comes to Sar, because we've heard that he has a hamstring injury and then he would be out of game week 4. But that hasn't been like proven, or hasn't been like a 100% sure thing. That's why I have him at the moment. Plus, I spent literally an hour looking through the different midfielders and none of them caught my eye, which is quite weird. I mean, I do love Fernandes, for example, but again, he's playing deep and solely relying on those penalties. How many penalties is he gonna get every single game week? I don't know. Other players like Ndiaye caught my eye. Everton are playing very well, but at the same time, there are Everton. Are they going to keep this up? And they have very, very difficult fixtures. So I put Sar here as a placeholder because if he's fine, he's the obvious or the most obvious midfielder to choose. He's 6.5. He has crazy XG. Crystal Palace are literally flying. They're playing very, very well. They should be scoring more, and I think Sar will be part of that if he is fit. So I'll keep him here just because I think he's one to have if he's fit. In terms of Salah, I think he's underperformed maybe according to some people because he's been playing a little bit too wide and he's been a little bit scrappy with his assists and goals. But he is Salah. I say this every single week. And come on, guys. He's playing Burnley away, Everton at home. If you're not going to have him now, if you're going to move him on now, I think that's a little bit premature. You're going to be hiding behind your couch. You know, who are you going to captain during this game weeks? Maybe Mateta, but we'll get to the forwards in a second. So I think you have to have Salah, especially because all the expensive midfielders are injured anyways. So in terms of Palmer and Saka, so you should have a lot more money to spend in midfield, and Salah would be the most obvious go-to midfielder. And there's Gakpo as well, but I'll get to Gakpo in like at the end when I'm showing the team. Spoiler alert. But yeah, Salah has had a very poor XG per 90, very poor XA per 90. DCs don't matter. He is on penalties, as we know, but now his fixtures turn a little bit. He has excellent 2 games, and you can always move him on if you don't like the Crystal Palace and Chelsea away, which I don't, by the way. And in my personal team, I'm not using my wild card, but I will be shipping Salah out after these game weeks. But I just simply can't ignore Burnley and Everton. Everton have looked good attacking wise, but defending wise, I have not been impressed at all. Like even the game that they kept a clean sheet in my opinion, they should have conceded at least 3 or 4 goals. I think that was the Brighton game. Yeah, and then finally Semenyo. Semenyo is like, I think, the best midfielder alongside Sar to own. There's not much to say. He has excellent fixtures. He's looking insanely dangerous. Every single match I've seen this season for Bournemouth, Semenyo has been looking demonic. Like 7.4, even though he's had 4 price rises, I think he's still good for 7.4, even 7.5. Excellent fixtures, excellent XG per 90, a very surprising, DC per 90. I think he was very close to getting 2 defensive contribution points last game. Yeah, the guy's a monster. He seems to be the talisman. I think he'll remain the talisman even when Kluivert starts. Yeah, there's nothing to dislike and all to love with Semenyo. So yeah, let's move on to the forwards. And last but not least, we have the top forwards. Now, they may look obvious because they are obvious, because they've been playing the best. I mean, except Mateta, he's just started, you know, finding his form last game. I say that and it was a penalty, you know, goal, so he didn't actually score, you know, a non-set piece goal. But listen, he's getting into positions, he's looking very lively, he's very close to scoring, he's getting some crosses in, like he's receiving some crosses. And Crystal Palace as a whole team, as a squad, they're looking very, very good, you know, under Glasner. And, you know, they have excellent fixtures going forward, so what's not to like? He has Sunderland at home, West Ham away, Liverpool at home. I have it in red, but is it really in red? Like, they just played in the Community Shield and he scored, and they've been leaking goals. Surprisingly, they didn't concede against Arsenal, but that's Arsenal's fault for sitting back too much. Like, we saw Bournemouth score twice, and I forgot who they played in game week 2. Newcastle with 10 men scored twice. I think the teams that get at Liverpool can score against Liverpool. I think all these like 5 fixtures Mateta can do well, especially if Sarr is playing and he's back from injury. And he's actually maintained a nice XG per 90 and a nice XA per 90 for a forward. And a surprising 5 DC per 90, by the way. But the most important thing is he's a good player, he's getting good chances, he has easy fixtures, and he's on penalties. So is the next player, which is Haaland. Now, I realize I'm going backwards on this slide, but it's okay. So moving on to Haaland. His XG per 90 is absolutely outrageous. I think he is the best City player, and he is playing like his, you know, true self. And I think last game or the game before, he pulled off like a Messi dribble. He dribbled past 3 players and like a crazy through pass. I think he's in top form. He just needs his teammates, you know, to find him more and to step up their gameplay. But he has also excellent fixtures. He has United at home. Again, United, I support United, as I say in every, you know, video. And I think they're a very, very good attack, but not so much a good defense. Now let's see what Le Mans, I think I'm pronouncing his name right, will do, the new goalkeeper. Is he going to make a huge difference? I think he might, but you know, let's just take things at face value. I think Man City will find a lot of chances. Whether they score them or not comes down to, you know, how Haaland is feeling that day, and all that matters is he's getting the chances, and the XG per 90 more than proves that. Okay, yeah, they play Arsenal away, but that's not a big deal. Arsenal aren't this, they are this mighty defense, but you know, I've seen proof from the United game and the Liverpool game, but especially the United game. Had you given Haaland some of Cunha's chances or whatever, I think he could have scored. He would have scored 2, maybe even more. I swear. Like yes, they're a formidable defense, but it's not an impossible game to score in. I think Haaland is good literally against every single team this season. So it's not the end of the world to have him against Arsenal, especially because you have Burnley at home, Brentford away, and Everton at home afterwards. So easy pick. Pedro, he's frustrated me as a non-owner because he keeps finding the net from a, you know, excellent taking corner, I must say. His XG per 90 isn't crazy. What was surprising, actually, he doesn't have penalties. I was so surprised when Enzo stepped up. So that was, yeah, that was weird. I thought for sure Pedro would have them if Palmer is injured, but he's in super top form. He has easy fixtures. Now, you may have noticed that I put United away in red and put it in green for Haaland. I think at Old Trafford things will be different, and especially after the City game, whatever happens in the City game, there's going to be a reaction against Chelsea, in my opinion. So if they do well against City, I think they'll continue to do well. And if they get thrashed, I think they might find themselves, you know, fixing a few things and holding the line a little bit better against Chelsea. Those are all just, you know, theories, but we're still getting Pedro regardless. We don't trust United's defense that much, so we will be targeting them. And again, Liverpool is in red. as it is for Mateta. But again, as I mentioned earlier, if a team gets at them and attacks them, they're not that good at defending this year. And the rest of the games are easy. Nottingham Forest, what used to be a red fixture, not anymore. They're easy to score against. For God's sake, West Ham scored 3. Yeah. I think these are the 3 best forwards. And let's get to the transfer planner. So guys, before we get to the transfer planner, let's first look at the final team selection. Now in goal, I have Dubravka, obviously he's 4 million, and Petrovic. Petrovic can literally become any 4.5 that you are confident in, that you think will get the points. I think Bournemouth have excellent fixtures, and surprisingly they have defended like okay. They're not that bad and they're finding their feet. But again, he can become Kelleher, Verbruggen, or whatever keeper you like. And I'll show you the rest of the team. There are opportunities to, you know, save some money in some spots, and you can then move Petrovic up to a Sanchez if you're really in love with Sanchez. It's not impossible to get him. By the way, this is my team's value, so you might have, you know, accrued more money. I'm not sure if it's, you know, you would have 0.5 here because I haven't lost anything, but I haven't gained that much. But I think a lot of people who are wildcarding right now wouldn't have that much more money, you know. So I think you might need to drop someone, you know, to a cheaper player and then make up that money. But I don't want to spend too much talking about goalkeepers. Let's move on to the defenders. As I told you guys, Senesi, Chelsea, Crystal Palace. Again, I've gone for the cheapest, but they're all center backs. We have 5 center backs because of those defensive contribution points, which have been proving to be very reliable. Now Senesi has a very good aerial threat. Richards that has like a couple of goals in him every season, so do expect some attacking return in some game. But what's more important is that he plays for a solid defense. He's 4.5 and he does get those defensive contributions. Tosin plays for one of the best teams in the league and he's 4.5, and I've already explained about these 3 players actually. So then you have Anderson and Rodon. Rodon has been looking amazing, which actually you can switch Rodon for Gudmundsson, who's been looking very, very impressive. He's Leeds' as fullback, but again, I'm more inclined to pick a center back, so that's why I've went for Rodon. Anderson, he's a very nice choice. He could be Diouf, by the way. Diouf surprised everybody last week. He got I think a 10-pointer. He got a clean sheet and an assist against Nottingham Forest. But yeah, Anderson, you know, steady Eddie. I think he will be scoring some goals this year. I think 2 years ago he scored like 5. He's a good aerial threat. Even though he didn't find the goal last year, he's still good for those set pieces. And he gets those defensive contributions most importantly. And they looked amazing against Chelsea during that first half at least. The second half, they looked a little bit more iffy. They were trying to get that goal back. But in my opinion, Fulham have a decent defense and they will be keeping some clean sheets. Oops. Midfielders. I mean, you know the forwards. Why not? Let me show you. Yeah, midfielders. We've gone for Salah, as I explained. Semenyo, as I explained. I'll quickly cover the forwards actually. Haaland, Pedro, Mateta. I've already explained them. So I have to explain Gakpo, Reinders, and Dewsbury Hall. So Reinders is pretty easy. Literally everybody and their mother is injured for Man City, so he's gonna be starting. He's 5.5, or I guess 5.6 or 5.7 if you don't have him. He's playing more of a CM role. He's pretty good. I think he's been a little bit unlucky, or he's actually missed a few chances, I must say. I think he should have scored and assisted at least one more time since game week 1. I think he'll come good. And he's super cheap anyways and nailed on, especially with Gundogan leaving, I think, to Fenerbahce. And then you have Dewsbury Hall. He had a haul last week. He got 15 points or something like that. He's 5 million, super cheap, super reliable. He's good to have. Finally, Gakpo. Again, I want to get Sar and save that 1 mil. But if he's injured, then I thought for the next 2 weeks, no midfielder is catching my eye. Nobody has better fixtures than Gakpo. Now, I know also Isak joined, but it's not the end of the world. like Isak will be mainly playing as the striker. Why would Ekitike or Isak play on left wing when Gakpo has been absolutely exceptional? And of course, Isak won't be playing or won't be starting game week 4. That'll be very, you know, strange if that happens. So I see Gakpo guaranteed, not just for 4 or 5, even for like the next 5 fixtures, I would say, even with Champions League. But do plan some transfers, do plan to take him out, and it's not so hard because the rest of the team is kind of, you know, good for the long term. And I'll show you that in the transfer planner. So guys, this is the transfer planner. As I showed you earlier, these are the same players that we've chosen. I'm just double checking real quick. Yes, they are. Of course, for this game week, we'll be having Salah as captain. Some of you might be, you know, ambitious and put Haaland or Mateta. Go for it. I'm just gonna, you know, play it safe. I saw Burnley concede 1 million chances against United. So if Liverpool play the same, they should be good. Game week 5, again, the team is set. Yeah, it's a little bit more tricky this game week because Reinders has Arsenal away, so you will be playing 4 defenders, but that's proven to be, you know, not such a bad thing this season. By the way, Petrovic could be someone else. I keep saying this because I think some of you will write in the comment section, oh, Petrovic, you know, there's somebody else that we would prefer, whatever. Okay, yeah, sure. Drop somebody like Gakpo and Tuandiaye, if I'm pronouncing his name right, and then you can get your Sanchez or whoever you want. So these 2 players like aren't fixed or guaranteed. The rest of the players, in my eyes, should be fixed. Maybe not Pedro. I swear I'm not super convinced with Pedro, but I don't want to keep talking about it. I keep mentioning it to my friends. Yeah, so game week 5, as I said, your team would look like this. It's a very good team. Salah and Gakpo have Everton, again, who are conceding a lot of chances. And Haaland does have Arsenal away, but come on, it's Haaland, so it's not the end of the world. And from then onwards, your teams will look absolutely crazy. Look at game week 6. Game week 6, you got perfect defense right here, perfect mid, and Haaland captain. You have 2 City players against Burnley at home. And yeah, what's not to like? Oh, I'll tell you what's not to like. Salah and Gakpo. But at that point, I think it would be clear like which players to go for from the other teams. Particularly, I mean, if Sarr is back, are you really gonna move Salah down to Sarr? I think you'll just stick for that game week, right? But you might move back to like Fernandes if they're proving, you know, like they're finding their form again. They're scoring the goals that they should be scoring because, you know, they have the highest XG per 90. Or Spurs, but I don't trust Spurs like the Spurs attack that much. I trust their defense a little bit more, even though I don't have any defenders from them. I mean, you could always have Van de Ven instead of Anderson, by the way. But yeah, like Van de Ven, the problem is he's not even getting close to getting defensive contributions. I think he had 9 last game, but that was like, I think he got like 2 very late ones. He was technically on a 7. He doesn't get those defensive contributions, and he's not as threatening as Anderson. But I digress. Again, these players you can swap around however you like, as long as you have the core players like Semenyo, Haaland, Mateta, Pedro, Reinders. Game week 7 is when we make 4 transfers apparently. You triple up on Arsenal very easily by moving away from Gakpo and Salah. So even if you had that Gakpo doubt that is he going to start, is Isak going to take his place, whatever, there you go. He's gone. You've got him Fernandes, you've got him Gabriel, Saka, Gyökeres. Saka should be fine at that, you know, during that game week. Then you have Pedro, Haaland. This is a beautiful team, honestly. And you can captain Gyökeres or Haaland or whoever you see fit. Game week 8. By the way, Fernandes will be like a more of a, you know, long-term pick. He gets those defensive contributions. He seems to be getting them literally every single game. And if he gets a penalty or a nice free kick, he scores. And he does go up front like a little bit every once in a while. So he's not a bad player to have at all. Plus, there aren't any other options, in my opinion, like any super clear options. Again, so this is what the team would look like for game week 8. You have triple Arsenal. It's looking good. And who are you missing out on, really? I don't see you missing out on anything obvious. So who has the best fixture? Sunderland and Wolves, they have each other. And Leeds. But you're not gonna get, you know, players from these teams. So I mean, you could play, you know, you could do this. I guess not the end of the world. But out of the other like big teams, you have everybody covered, and that's what matters. Moving on to game week 9. Again, you make 2 free transfers. You get Palmer in. Now you have triple Arsenal, triple Chelsea. And if you wanted some of that Liverpool action, you can move Haaland down to Isak in order to afford Palmer, of course. Again, this team looks absolutely amazing. You can play Senesi, I guess, instead of Rodon. And yeah, you can play Dubravka. Don't forget you have Dubravka. So when Burnley have like these very, very good fixtures, you can always play that Burnley keeper. Game week 10, I guess you could use maybe your free hit here if you really don't want 3 Chelsea players against Spurs away. But I don't see why you would use your free hit, because this looks absolutely fine and perfect. I mean, you can do this. No, why would you would never, would you? Would you do this? I don't know. I wouldn't. But yeah, it's a nice team. I see no faults. Game week 11. Beautiful fixtures for Chelsea. Beautiful fixtures for Arsenal. You have 6 players, 3 of each. The rest of the team looks fine, especially Isak against City. I'm not scared one bit. If Isak plays as a striker, which he will, he's gonna destroy City's defense because it's been not that good since last year, in fact. And yeah, you can play Dewsbury Hall, or if you also still don't trust Liverpool's defense at that stage, very easy, just play Reinders. And you got 2 free transfers, which I don't advise you to use, and I'll get to that in a second, because game week 12 your team looks fine. Again, I haven't fixed the captaincies for all of these, so of course it'll be like this or something. But again, it looks fine, looks beautiful. You can play Senesi instead of Richards if you want, whatever. And the reason we haven't used our transfers is because of this game week, and I haven't even used them for this game week yet, because I think this is where I'm going to end the video, because at that point only God knows what's going to happen. This is literally game week 13. Yes, you should plan ahead, but please don't really bother that much with, you know, planning game week 13, as long as you can plan to have, okay, maybe not necessarily 4 free transfers, but try your hardest to have like 3 or something, because you will be using them during this game week. And if you ask me why, it's a very easy answer. Scroll here. Oops. Game week 13. Let's move back a little bit, actually. So look at, this is 13. And look at 9, 10, 11, 12. You can see Liverpool and City have difficult fixtures. So City would have Aston Villa away, even though they're poor, but they're still at home and they are tricky. He also, so Haaland technically has Liverpool at home and Newcastle away, and Bournemouth, who haven't looked, you know, like pushovers, even though they did lose by 4 goals in game week 1, but they're finding their form. Liverpool, on the other hand, also have a, you know, Brentford away, which is not that bad, but it's still away. Again, Villa, similar to City, and then City themselves and Forest, who might find their form by then, but they're not the easiest fixtures in the world. But I'll tell you what the easiest fixtures are, and they're literally, you know, from game week 13 onwards. In fact, they're the best fixtures by far for any team. That's why I will be wildcarding in 13, so as, you know, so many other content creators are also looking at 13, many other people, and it's, you know, it's there for a reason, because the swing is absolutely crazy. They played 2 promoted teams in the 3 game weeks following that, and they played them again, you know, they play Leeds in 15 and again in 19. So these like 6 or 7 fixtures are absolutely gold, literally gold for Liverpool and City. You should definitely have Salah and Haaland, or try to get at least one of them. And you can even have Bournemouth during that time. Yeah, I think you really need to save like 3 or 4 transfers for game week 13. And as I've shown you with this transfer planner, it's very, very possible, and it's not that hard. Again, you might get some injuries throughout this, you know, journey. So yeah, you might not have 4, you might even have 2, but try to have at least 2. That's all you need, because in 2 transfers you can at least get Salah and somebody else, you know, like Salah and a defender. because then you have Isak, Salah, let's say a City defender or a Liverpool defender, and you already have Reinders, so you're kind of almost good to go. And worst comes to worst, you can do a -4 and get Salah, Haaland, and a cheapie. I think just moral of the story is leave some transfers for 13. Don't be too tempted to use them from 10th to 13. And that's it, guys. That's in my eyes, the best wildcard team as of the 2nd of September. Now, if something were to happen in terms of injuries, or we hear some, I don't know, crazy news about some player, then we'll adapt. But for the time being, in my eyes, this is the best wildcard, and I'm very eager to hear your opinions in the comments. So please do leave a comment. Do like the video if you found it useful, and please subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. So thank you again for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Take care.